Hi guys, this video is going to go over the Lrg fundamentals main settings. So this is kind of the core of the mod. Lots of stuff to be set here and lots of customization. I'll try and get through it as quickly as I can. So if I'm talking quickly, it's because I don't want this video to be 45 minutes long. So everything to do with the core fundamentals is in your settings, add-on options. So if we go into that, then what we want to look for in this drop down here is the Lrg main settings. Now, I'll try and get through a lot of these, but hopefully the tooltips will give you enough help to kind of use these without me having to go through them. But general rule is everything's going to be switched off unless you want it on. So by default, most things are off. There's a couple of settings we may have changed. So if I go into the server tab, you'll probably see what we use for our missions. And I'll quickly blast through it from top to bottom. So AIS Revive, that's using a custom revive system so that you can not have to put a separate script in your mission files. You can just bang that on and you'll be able to revive people using that setting. Vehicle crew list, if you want to be able to see people in vehicles, then it will put a little list down the side. BIS dynamic group, so that's your U menu that most people will be familiar with. That can be turned on or off without you having to put the information in the description. It just does it for you. Earplugs, if you're not using ACE, you can use Yanu earplugs, which are really good. A nice little script that was made there by Martin Co. You can just turn them on and off. If you've got ACE, then it will automatically disable those because you shouldn't really be using them with it. Pilot restrictions, so under the players, I'll show you in a second if I don't forget, you've got traits, and in those traits you can have stuff like pilot. So all this does is if you've got this enabled, only someone with that checked box traits can fly an aircraft. In fact, I'll quickly show you now because I will forget. So if I go to our pilots, which are somewhere over here, pick one, that one. If I double click on him, scroll down under Lrg fundamentals, we've got some traits, and we've got pilot, mission maker, instructor, and we've also got stuff to do with loadouts and a few preset things. So this Lrg preset thing is to do with radios. So we've got default radios. So rather than me having to do some crazy scripting every single time to get everyone's radios to the correct frequency, I select that. So it will give him the frequency for a pilot. If I use one, that's one section. So general rule, frequency 100, 200, 300. It'll all be set up for them. If I don't want that, I can set it to none. So we were talking about pilot. So what this does is allows them to be a pilot. If you've got that ticked to pilot and you've got pilot restrictions under your settings menu, I was just on off, then it won't do anything. Anyone can fly. It's just that's a check that you need to do. The mission maker is kind of something to do with what we use on missions, where you can give them some extra options and things like that. Be able to stop the mission, start the mission, and things like that. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. The instructor again is something for us, which gives on training missions them a few extra options. The preset loadout is to do with basically we've got some preset loadouts for 3CB and maybe some others. And if you select that, then no matter what happens, they will always use those loadouts, which is quite good for us. If we go back to a mission we played a year ago, then as long as that's checked, all their equipment will be correct, up to date with whatever's in the mod. So we don't have to every single week go, oh god, I need to change all those loadouts again. So we change it once and it will change for every single mission that we play. So if you like our loadouts, then use it. If you don't like our loadouts, then you're probably going to want to turn that off because it will keep overriding your stuff. So if you get that issue, that's why. But I'll quickly go back to add-on options now that I've not forgotten to do that. Where did I get to? Pilot restrictions, yeah, that's that. Right, Voyager Compass HUD is a fantastic script is a third-party script, and all that does is puts a little compass HUD at the top of your screen so you can always see which direction you're facing. Very, very good. Credits to the author for that one. They're absolutely fantastic. All we've done is added the ability to control it through this menu, so you can just turn it on and off, which is obviously a lot better than having to have an extra mod if you don't want to use it. It's all contained. Onto Quicksilver's repack magazines. So again, you wouldn't really use this with ACE, but what it does is it allows you to be able to have a scroll menu option to repack your magazines. Perfect for vanilla kind of armor games where you don't want to have to, again, use ACE or something. It just gives you an option and it'll let you repack your magazines. Something that I don't understand why it's not in the default game, but that's armor. We've got some view distance stuff. So on your scroll wheel, you have view distance settings. Again, this is a third party by CHVD. Probably most people are familiar with that. And it will just let you set the max and min values of your view distance. And so you can control it. So if you're struggling with frames, again, if you don't want to use it, you can turn it off and have them have default settings. Arsenal save load, I did cover in the equipment video very, very vaguely. What that does is it stops or allows people to be able to save or load a loadout in the arsenal. You might think, well, why would you want to turn that off? But it's if you don't want to have massive restriction scripts on and whitelist and blacklist all your equipment that you want people to be able to use, you can just turn their ability off to be able to load and save. So they'll only be able to take equipment that's in that arsenal anyway. So we do that because we're quite restrictive on the equipment that people use. We don't want them using outside of what their loadout is or what we've got in ammo boxes. So we just turn it off. Again, totally up to you. Flip vehicles, you can probably figure that one out. Just you can walk up to a vehicle if it's upside down and you'll have an add action to flip it back up the right way. T-far range multipliers, very useful if you're on a bigger or really small or massive map or something and you want to change those values, then you can make your long and short range radios more effective or less effective. So if you're doing some kind of apocalyptic thing, you can turn that right down so they have to be very close to other players to be able to communicate with them through radios, or if you're doing some massive mission, even on Altis or something, then you can set these higher. So you've got the multiplier and then you've got your interference, so that's how much a hill's going to interfere with the signal, for example, if they're at the bottom of it. Cue cards. I might show you cue cards, actually. That's probably going to be an easy way. I'll come back to that because that will be in-game, and I'll quickly show you that. Diary defaults, we've got some stuff that's kind of specific to us. That's just some stuff. Again, I'll show you that in game. I think that'll be a better way of doing it. Creator actions. Remember that add action, that trait, the mission maker trait. What this does is it gives you some extra options for a specific mission or something. But again, kind of more for us than for kind of everybody. But maybe that's something we can expand on. An option to turn fatigue on and off in vanilla only. That's up to you again. You've got FPS Counter, that's on the map. Again, I'll show you that in game if I remember all of this. Lrg login, again, that is kind of just our sort of stuff where we can log players that have connected to a server. I've not really gone into the depths of how to make that public because it involves using another mod, was it A3 log? But that maybe in the future can come along. The last thing is, again, maybe you'll use it, maybe you won't, but all this is if you want to use dynamic simulation and you don't want to have to check every mission that you've set it, you can just check this box, and all it will do is it will check if dynamic sim has been enabled. If it hasn't, then it will enable it. Simple as that. So by default, all this stuff will be turned off and you have to turn it on. We use it because we have quite a few people making missions and we don't want to go, oh god, dynamic simulation isn't on. And for those that don't know, dynamic simulation is basically, it restricts the AI's ability to move and stuff like that unless a player is in a set distance, and this will use default values, which is something like 2,000 meters, and it's absolutely brilliant at frame saving. So if you've got hundreds of AI all over the map, you don't want AI 10 kilometers away from where your players are moving around. There's no point. But when they start getting close enough, then you want to start moving because then you're not having the penalty of all those AI. It's a very good system. Hopefully it will kind of help you with your missions and keep your frames under control. That should, fingers crossed, allow you to do it without having to check it, but again, it would be up to you to turn that setting on if you wish to use it. Just to reiterate, these aren't default values that I've got here. These are actually the ones that we're using in this mission, so whether you want to copy or paste that, I don't know, it's up to you. Right, as promised, if I can remember everything I said I was going to check, I'll just jump into multiplayer and we'll play this so you can see some of the options that I was talking about. Right, we're in, and I've already forgotten what I was talking about. So I'm going to quickly go to configure add-on options. Let's have a quick look at main and just see what I was on about earlier. So we talked about cue cards. That's one. Remember cue cards. Diary defaults, creator actions, FPS counter. 4 things. Don't forget. Right, cue cards. This is an ACE specific thing, but if I go on self-interaction on ACE, under cue cards, we've got some nice little cool things here. I should probably make this a separate video, but hey ho, committed now. And what they are is just simple little things like a Casevac report, and you've got a little thing that you can type in here, drag it around the screen, stuff like that, and then close it. And if I want to open it again, you've got it back again. I don't know. I don't really use these, but they are here. Some people like them. You can write down your information and then call a radio and all that sort of stuff so you can use it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll use them, I don't know. You've got your notepad as well if you just want to write stuff down. I thought that used to save stuff. Maybe that should be saving it when you close it. I don't know. But yeah, it's there if you need it. What else did we have? We had the FPS counter. Now, the FPS counter, if you open the map, at the bottom here, you'll have the frames of the server, the frames of headless clients if they're connected, and then your own frames. It will say, I don't know, user or whatever it is. You can't see that because when you're in the editor, you are the server. So it doesn't view you as two separate entities. But it's good to see what your kind of server's on. So for people running the mission, everyone can see this if this is turned on. But for people running the mission, then it's a brilliant thing to see that, okay, the server's starting to dip. Because if the server starts dipping in frames because you've got too many AI, everyone will feel that. So you can just start tweaking it. Again, headless client's brilliant because I look at this a lot when I make missions because I'll be like keeping an eye on my headless clients. My headless client frames start dropping, then I know I've probably gone a little bit overboard. I feel like there was something else and I've forgotten again. I think there's something wrong with my memory. Can't remember things. Done FPS counter, done diary and creator actions, right. So this guy isn't a mission maker, but effectively you'd have another option for creator actions, which will be something specific like trigger an event, something for us, but maybe one day we'll expand the functionality of that so people can use it. And the diary, if I go into briefing, right, diary defaults is just this information here. So we've just got some stuff here. Again, it's specific to us, but when you had those traits on the players and you could see 1, 2, 3, 909, and I said they have default radio frequencies, these are those default radio frequencies. So you can see what they'd be set to. And these are the long range, and I think that's about it. That's to do with something else. That's a mod. But that's all they are. So if you're not going to use our radio frequencies and stuff, then obviously don't set that. Again, it's kind of specific to us to make our lives easier. Hopefully that's everything. I appreciate this is a long video. I've tried to talk quicker than I've ever talked before to try and get a lot of information across for free. Obviously, so scroll backwards and forwards to cover bits that you need. Probably some questions have come out of this, so if you've got any questions, then feel free to respond in Steam or in the comments, and I'll get back to you to try and explain stuff a little bit better. I'm just trying to smash this out so we broadly cover everything. Hopefully that's helped, guys, and fingers crossed you'll be able to use these in your missions. Cheers, guys.